say something in the very beginning, I need to make sure I say something profound.
Everybody think about what your
introducing us?
Introducing. Okay.
Oh, okay.
Here we go. Hello and welcome to the Twaddling Along podcast, the show where three intrepid travelers get lost on the highway of life and end up in the ditch. I'm your host, Dan McBride, here with my brothers Jake.
No, I still couldn't come up with anything intelligent for that part. Hi.
And Josh.
Hey there, Sonny.
Hey there. You almost sounded Canadian, but then you went.
I knew. We're going to be talking
Canadian
about
the prospector. Hey.
Oh,
Never mind.
Wait for it. See, this is the nice thing.
What's going to happen?
I can just cut this all out. Every once in a while, when someone yells too loud, it will reverberate. Anyways.
We'll cut that out.
No. People need to hear us.
Oh, wait. Danny's saying reset.
Oh, we're not re-sweating.
Oh.
No, we're good.
Re-sweating?
Re-sweating.
Oh, I'm re-sweating.
We have twaddled our way through the Man-Cold and King Henry VIII, which means that we are back on the folklore and the paranormal side, and guess who gets to do it this time? Me. And I love this stuff. With it being my week, I want to start a little bit differently. We're gonna do a little bit of a story to start with. Now, this is hopefully not going to take too terribly long, but I think it's a really good story. So, here we go. Feel free to interject as I talk, gentlemen.
Buckle in.
My name is Ben Anderson. It's not really Ben Anderson.
I was going to say, didn't you just introduce yourself
as the story is Ben Anderson.
Oh, Ben Anderson. Okay.
My name is Ben Anderson, and I'm I'm as Midwestern as they come. I was born and raised in Virginia, Minnesota, a small mining town with a population of 8,800, situated against the Iron Range of northern Minnesota. Civic and familial pride were great, but what truly drove my family and in turn instilled with me love of the land. It's hard to explain unless you grew up in the northern Midwest, but the deep northern forests and lakes surrounding my home were more than just recreation. They were the building blocks that made me and my family who we were. Being away from the woods was hard. I'd been accepted into the University of Illinois in their energy and environmental engineering program, and for 4 years, cornfields replaced forests. Yeah, cornfields is an understatement in Illinois. Holy cow.
I've never been.
Really? Oh, flatland is flat. The flatlands of Illinois grated on my psyche. I graduated college in the late summer of 2014 and headed home for the winter to begin planning for the rest of my life. Because of my unusual graduation date, I decided to take off the autumn and first part of winter to muck about in the woods, as my mom would often say, a way to familiarize myself back home. Taking advantage of the time, I decided to plan a last hurrah, a 2-week-long hot tent adventure, and this is going to get me in trouble if anybody in the Midwest is going to listen to, Cabatogama, up at Cabatogama State Forest.
Cabamatoga.
I was going to say Cowabunga.
Cabatogama State Forest. A frequent haunt of my family. It's situated about an hour and a half north of Virginia, Minnesota, and it's butting right up against the Canadian border. It was perfect. I wanted to truck into one of those lakes on the northern side of the park, set up camp, and spend the 2 weeks of fishing, hiking, and just being away. My father had done something similar when he graduated college. Many late-night camping by the fireside stories of my youth were told about how my dad and Uncle Ray took their postgraduate trip, like the one-time Uncle Ray, who would later become mayor of Virginia, got so drunk he took the canoe out naked, singing at the top of his lungs just to scare the South Dakota tourists. Or when Dad and Uncle Ray accidentally lit their tent on fire when trying to cold smoke whitefish they'd caught that day.
Nice.
Now, Uncle Ray wasn't uncle by blood, but I'd spent so much time with his family that kinship was at this point implied. That's just the Midwest way. I had talked to my father early on about my trip, and my dad had regaled me again with all the stories I'd heard a million times. However, near the end of the conversation, when I mentioned where I wanted to go, he got a little stern and said, "You promised me one thing, Ben. The woods have a tendency to play tricks on the mind. Sometimes the long quiet can start to get to you. If that happens, you ignore it. You get in your truck and you come home." Now, to be frank, I had no idea what my dad was talking about. For one thing, I had long decided that I wouldn't be alone. I was taking my best friend, who happened to be Uncle Ray's son, Jackie, with me. Jackie had just come back from deployment from the Gulf. He was an aircraft mechanic in the Air Force and was all too ready to make a trip. Jackie and I had practically been raised together, and I was excited to have him along. For two, I had been on my own in the woods around my home dozens, if not hundreds of times, and although Cabotogama wasn't as familiar, it wasn't a strange land either. I wasn't taking off to Death Valley or the Florida Everglades after all. The day came for departure. The forecast showed mid-40s during the day and lows in the high 20s and maybe dipping into the teens for 2 weeks. The chance of snow that early was unlikely, but not unheard of, so Jackie and I had packed some extra snow gear. We also packed 6 cases of Shell's beer, much to the chagrin of my mothers
Not a
and
sponsor.
the amusement of their fathers. Uncle Ray and my dad had come out to help with the packing, adding some missing items, fatherly advice, and a tale or two for good measure. As I tied down the last line, holding down the massive equipment in the back of the Dodge, Uncle Ray and my dad pulled Jackie and I aside. "Now listen, guys," Uncle Ray started. "You two have each other's back and have fun. The last thing we need is for you two getting hurt up there, mostly because we'll never hear the end of it from your mothers. Don't get too drunk around the fires, keep warm, change socks, heck, just don't be dumb. One other thing," my dad said. "Don't lose yourself. Having fun is one thing, but the woods can be dangerous. They'll mess with your mind if you let them. It gets quiet up there. Sometimes it may seem like it's too quiet." "Little spooky there, Mr. Anderson," Jackie responded. "Yeah, Dad," I said. "We'll be careful." "That's all I can ask for," my dad said. With that, the trip started with the old Dodge choking into life with a turn of the key. Jackie jumped in the passenger side, rolled down the windows, and said his goodbyes. As we pulled out my parents' driveway, Uncle Ray yelled one last thing as we started off. "What did he say?" I said. The roar of the engine had kind of drowned out Ray's last words. "I think he said, 'Watch for fleas,'" Jackie said, looking completely confused and a little bemused. We had decided to try and stay away from the fishing resorts around the main Cabotogama Lake and venture further east, aiming for a small lake known as Amundsen Lake. We had to hoof our supplies out about a quarter of a mile from where we parked, which would take a few trips, but we wanted seclusion, away from tourists, game wardens, and just life in general. While making my second trip from the truck to the campsite, I heard Jackie yell out my name. He sounded off. His voice seemed overly calm, as if his cadence was flat. I yelled out for him with no answer. The only thing I could hear was the rustling of the bush nearby. When I looked, a deer popped up, looked at me, and ran away. I walked into camp several minutes later and found him setting up our tent and stove. "Did you need something?" I asked him. "Nope," he answered. "I'm surprised I could hear you all the way back from the truck," I said. "What are you talking about?" He squinted, confused. "Oh, I thought I heard my name." I looked at him to see if he was pulling some kind of prank. He seemed just as confused as I was. "Whatever, let's get to the beers." The next several days were spent fishing in the morning until we caught our limit, heading back to camp and fish frying our catch. We'd eat all we could, throwing the rest of the fish carcasses into the lake. At night, we'd make a fire and just talk and drink. We'd seen so little of each other over the past 4 years that the first 3 or 4 days was just catching up on our lives. He filled me in on the horrors of war, which was mostly for him telling me how bored he was in Kuwait, and me telling him the horrors of college. We talked women, politics, futures, and the wonders of beer. On the 7th night, we decided to hike down to the truck and drive to a little bar called Boondocks, as we were growing sick of fish. It was quiet when we got there. A few patrons at the bar, but most of the tables were empty. We sat down at the bar and ordered some food. As we sat there waiting, we struck up a conversation with a woman tending bar. Midwest charm is what that's called. Our food arrived, and we ate. She stuck around and had a drink with us. "So, where are you staying up here?" she asked. We're a little off the beaten path, trying to stay farther away from the crowds if we can help it," I said. "Crowds? We don't expect any crowds up here for a while, dear. It's been at least a month before things are cold enough and we start seeing people coming up and setting up on the ice," she said. "That being said, what are you two doing up here?" "Well, we needed to get away for a while. He just graduated and I'm back from deployment. We're 2 homegrown boys just needing some northern air," Jackie said. "Well, you two be careful out there. Weather is supposed to turn a little brisk, or so says the news. Things get a little dicey during the first cold out there. Y'all watch out. Don't get the spirit of the Winnebago in you," she replied and shuffled off and refilled the beers. "Winnebago?" I turned to Jackie. "What the heck does that mean?" Jackie looked odd, confused, and it seemed a little scared. We changed topics to the current game on the television, and the conversation naturally drifted. We headed back to our campsite late that night, hiking the quarter of the mile in the darkness with headlamps. When we got back, Jackie made a fire and plopped down. "Do you think the weather really will turn?" he said. He put his hands behind his back and crossed his legs, making it seem like he was at ease, but his face, it was tense. "Even if it does, we have enough firewood to keep us cozy in the tent for a while, and if it gets too bad, we brought snowshoes and we can make it to the truck in 10 or 15 minutes if we needed to." I knew that Jackie knew all this. His concern seemed unwarranted and uncharacteristic. He had spent more time in the woods than anybody, including me. He was in all ways fearless. Yet now, as I looked at him, he seemed worried. What concerned me more is he hid that worry from me. "Ben, that bartender at the bar, you asked why she said Winnebago," he started. "Yeah, I thought I had some kind of saying up near these parts. You know, the spirit of old people in RVs or something," I said. Oh. "She didn't say Winnebago. She said Wendigo," he said. His eyes were lit up in the fire. "What's that?" I said. "When I was in a base in Kuwait, we served part of the time with different installments out of other countries. One of those installments came from Canada." His eyes remained transfixed by the fire. "They were good guys, mostly doing refueling. Not a very big regiment compared to the rest of us. We had a deal with them that my squadron would help out with the general maintenance. And for the Canadians, they ended up being really close to a lot of the guys and stayed with us for about 6 months." He shifted in his seat, pulled his arms up from behind his back, and sat up. He didn't remove his eyes from the fire. "To pass the time between scheduling, we would start talking about superstitions and fairy tales, you know, the ghost and goblin kind of stuff. It was all in fun, mostly either pulled out of our butts or ghost stories that we heard when we were kids. Nobody believed in the things we were saying. It's just the kind of stuff that you talk about when you can't talk about home anymore. Anyways, on the Canadian side was a First Nations guy, an Algonquin or Chippewa or something. He was a great guy, could drink us all under the table and had a laugh that was contagious. But whenever we started talking about the spooky stuff, he just froze up. I remember Jackie closing his eyes at this point, and why that detail remains, I don't know. Anyways," Jackie continued, "we goaded him constantly to try and tell us one of his Indian stories. He'd smile and shake his head and try to laugh it off, but man, we pestered that poor guy forever. Finally, after weeks and weeks of poking and prodding, he opened up just a little. His story was about the Wendigo. See, a Wendigo is a cold spirit. It's an evil thing. It's a man cursed because he didn't resist the hunger. He gave into the most taboo. He looked up from the fire and into my eyes. He ate his own. Cannibalism." We sat there in a moment of silence, letting the fire crackle and the logs burn, and Jackie then continued. "Wendigos gain some powers from this curse. They become monstrously big. In some cultures they shapeshift, and others are described as deer-headed with a monstrous body. The weird thing is, in all tales, they're emaciated looking. They're insatiable. They hide in the trees, they look down on you, and they hunt you." The fire had started to die down, and I threw another log in. Jackie seemed impossibly far away, lost in a memory. The thing that spooked me the most were the voices. "Voices?" I had asked. "Yeah, supposedly they mimic voices. They use the voices you most trust to lure you in, and you do trust them." It was quiet, and the words my dad kept running through my head. "Sometimes the long quiet can start to get to you. If that happens, you ignore it, you get back in the truck, and you come home." Jackie perked up. He seemed to ease a little and stood up to grab a beer. "It's all just a story anyways. It just spooked me when that woman mentioned the Wendigo. It brought back some not-so-kind memories. That and you hearing things out there kind of freaked me out." "Yeah, seems so." He had scared me too. The hard part was knowing if it was on purpose or not. He always liked a good prank or a spooky story, but this seemed different. But now he sat there, regaling me of a beautiful German girl he once picked up in San Diego. The night returned to normal, and the passing thoughts of the Wendigo seemed to fall into the distance. We woke up the next morning to cold. Bitter, unrelenting cold. The bartender had been right. The weather seemed to have shifted, and suddenly the threat of snow seemed more real. On top of all that, the world became misty. Too much warm earth hitting cold air. We went on much the same way we did the last few days. We decided to drive up to the main Kabetogama Lake and try our hand out there. We fell in with some other local fishermen, and before we knew it, the sun was starting to sink. We jumped back in the truck and headed back down to our site. By the time we parked, it was nearing dusk. We hustled up the trail to our campsite as small flurries of snow began to appear in the sky. "Well, this might make things a little difficult," Jackie said. "What do you think?" "I say if it doesn't clear up by morning, we get out of here, find a lodge with a warm bed, and drink ourselves into oblivion one last time," I said. "Plan accepted," he said. He went to go light the fire for the night and suddenly turned around. Hey, I left my lighter in the truck. Do you have a lighter or matches on you? I searched through my pockets and then through my bag in the tent. Must have left mine out there too. Odd.
Man cold.
Seriously. No worries. I'll head back down and grab them. Jackie grabbed the headlamp and the spare flashlight and took off in the brush. While he was gone, I busied myself prepping the fish for tonight's fish fry, dicing them into squares and throwing the carcasses in the lake. Suddenly, I heard Jackie in the distance. Ben, I found him. I looked around expectantly. He didn't seem all that far off. Well, hurry up. The fish are almost ready and we need to get that oil going. Ben, I found them, he yelled again. I heard you the first time. Hurry up. Silence permeated the woods, and it was the first time I noticed how quiet it really was. No birds, no wind, nothing. Just Jackie yelling at me. Ben, I found them. What was going on? I listened carefully to the fourth and fifth time. It seemed that Jackie called out. This voice seemed off again. It didn't have the inflection that Jackie normally had. It just didn't even have an echo. The fifth time I heard the call, I started shouting, "Knock it off! Your little voodoo tale from last night got me. I admit it. No need to play this game anymore." Then the silence returned, but this time it was the comfortable silence. Birds and rustling winds, lapping water. I waited for a few moments in fearful apprehension until Jackie came around the corner. "Hey, what were you yelling at?" he asked. "You idiot. Stop trying to scare me. It worked. I'm already scared." He looked at me confused. "What are you talking about?" "You and your creepy repetitions." "Ben, I found them," I stuttered. His eyes widened. "Ben, I didn't say anything." We worked in silence for what seemed like hours. He lit the largest fire he could with the flames easily shooting up 10 feet, and I got the oil hot and the fish battered and fried. We ate in perfect silence. "Ben, I think we need to go," Jackie finally said. I looked at him. He seemed frightened and on edge, kept glancing around and jumping at every shadow. I knew that he saw a mirrored image of me doing the exact same things. "Okay, I'm going to grab my bag. Do you think we need the snowshoes?" I asked. The snow had started accumulating now and was about an inch deep. "Nah, just leave it all. We'll come and grab the stuff later." We worked to put out the fire, dumping all the half-empty beer cans in the water we could. Eventually, we started digging into the dirt and throwing dirt piles. As the fire died, the woods got cold, but it wasn't until the fire was all the way gone that we realized just how cold it was. We grew up in cold. Remember, we're Minnesota boys. We knew cold like it was a childhood friend, but this cold, it was wrong. It ached through our coats as if it weren't there. The mist and fog returned, but this time they clung to us. It was almost as if you'd had to move around the fog. We shivered, and the silence became deafening. "Ben, I found them." Now I was staring at Jackie, looking directly at him when the voice of Jackie called out from the woods. I could feel my breath catch in my chest, and I saw Jackie glance into the woods. Then he started looking up into the trees. "Ben, I found them." That wasn't Jackie this time. It was the sound of my mother. Her voice sounded like it was pleading. "Ben, I found them." Uncle Ray now, then Dad, then Jackie's mom. They continued to yell out, then screamed out, not just from one direction, but what felt like all around. "Stop it," screamed Jackie. But the voices continued all around us. The voices chanted the same unholy passage again and again and again. "Ben, I found them. Ben, I found them. Ben, I found them." The voices melded, changed tones and patterns, dropped octaves, and then raised impossibly high. It became impossibly loud, and then all of a sudden, as if the recording stopped, the whole world became quiet again. Jackie smelled it first. He grimaced, but did not take his eyes off the top of the trees, and when it hit me, I immediately threw up. It was the smell of decay. It was the smell of death. "Ben," he didn't say fleas, he said trees. Jackie whispered, now transfixed in the woods. "My dad said, watch the trees." I followed his eye line up about 15 feet up a tree 50 yards ahead of us. There in the tree was a deer, but no, not a deer. Its head was white like bone and it twitched erratically. Its skin was impossibly white. It just seemed to be merely draped around its bones like it never had a meal in its life. It was gaunt. No muscle mass, yet it seemed impossibly strong. It was tall, towering over a normal man, yet it clung to the tree with almost no effort. Cold breath seemed to escape it. Was it breath? It never seemed to inhale, just constantly exhale. It had no eyes, just shallow, deep holes of inky blackness. It watched us, but didn't watch us, couldn't watch us. It was hunting. It moved slowly down the tree, inching its way. I couldn't tell how it moved, though. It just seemed to spasm and then drop. When it hit the ground, it was silent. Its legs seemed impossibly long and spindly. I kept praying that it would just topple over, and it would just fall, it would just die, or that I would just wake up. It glided in our direction. Then, it screamed. 1,000 voices and 1,000 sounds emitted from its mouth. Screams of beasts and birds and men and women. Sounds and voices, both earthly and unearthly. My one thought was that if I could get to the truck, I would be okay. I know it seems so illogical, like a child hiding from the blanket from the boogeyman, but I just knew that I would be safe. I slipped and slid, and I ran like a hunted animal. I could hear Jackie close behind me. As we ran, we heard voices calling us back, begging us to return. At one point, I heard Jackie yell for me to slow down, that we lost it, but I just kept running. I heard my own voice yelling for Jackie, screaming that I had slipped and fell, and I prayed that Jackie didn't believe it. When we hit the truck, we hit it full-bodied. Me first, then Jackie. We were scraped and battered and bruised, but overall unharmed. He yelled for me to go, but I had already started the truck and hit the gas, and we were off. That old Dodge was hitting speeds I'd never seen before. The last thing I saw, or thought that I saw, was this thing emerge right behind us. It vibrated and twitched, and then it melted. Even to say that, it seems simplistic, but it's almost like it erased itself from existence. And in the place stood a deer, staring at us with cold, dead eyes. We never went back, and we don't talk about it. Really, we don't talk about anything anymore. Jackie went back on duty, and last I heard he'd settled in Florida, has a wife and a kid or two. I accepted a job in Des Moines, running an ag processing plant. I still get out in the woods now and then, but I'm always just a little bit more coffish. Overnighters and an occasional hunt, no more long trips. The quiet gets to me. The quiet and the cold. Boys, we're talking about Wendigos today.
Their first mistake was going camping. What the heck were they doing? Resorts, condos, come on. You don't go out in the woods. The pioneers did that. We live in the 21st century.
I think I need to change my pants.
Freaky, huh?
Code brown.
Yeah, so the Wendigo, just a quick, brief kind of description of it. I think the best brief description that I actually found was a guy by the name of Basil S. Johnson. He was actually an Ojibwe teacher, and he was a scholar that was from Ontario. And he said, the Wendigo was gaunt to the point of emaciation, its desiccated skin pulled tightly over its bones. With its bones pushing out against its skin, its complexion the ash gray of death, and its eyes pushed back deep into the sockets. The Wendigo looked like a giant skeleton, recently disinterred from the grave. What lips it had were tattered and bloody, unclean and suffering some suppuration of the flesh. The Wendigo gave off a strange and eerie odor of decay, decomposition, of death, and corruption.
Yeah, no, thank you.
Josh, you spent a little bit of time up in that general area, didn't you?
I sure did. Up in Ontario, I was in what's considered Upper Canada. I don't know why it's called Upper Canada, because it's the lowest point of Canada, like the furthest south. But I did get up into the Ojibwe First Nations area just above Lake Huron, and I was warned.
Really?
I was never told the Wendigo personally, but it was, don't wander out in the woods.
Really?
Just don't do it. And the thing is for me, like here in Utah, where we're broadcasting, we have woods, but they're not like dense woods that, you could kind of see through the woods. Up there, there's just a wall of trees, and then it's black afterwards. And so, of course, me being at the time, I was like, we're never going in the woods. We're never going to go anywhere near that thing. You don't know what's in there. But yeah, we were told by the Ojibways and the other natives up in the area, yeah, don't wander in the woods by yourself. Don't wander in your woods for a long period of time.
If you do, bring a Winnebago.
Bring a Winnebago.
Winnebago to fight the Wendigo.
You know I'm going to now mix those two up throughout the rest of this podcast.
Yeah, it's funny because everyone that I knew didn't camp.
Really?
When I was up there. Mm-hmm. They would go out for maybe day journeys, but they'd always come back to their homes or whatever, or stay in cabins or whatnot. They would never go camping out by themselves up in the forest of northern
That's because
Ontario.
they realized it was the 21st century.
But yeah, the Wendigo, man. Oh,
It's a creepy thing, and the thing that creeps me out is it's old stories.
old.
Like I found as I was kind of looking at this, there's been writings about the Winnebago as far back as when the Spanish came over. There's been oral history way farther than that. I mean, we even have, I don't know if you guys know this, but Teddy Roosevelt wrote a book called The Wilderness Hunter, which is just kind of his hunting stories, and he has a story about a Wendigo in there.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh
And
my
he
gosh.
tells it, and the funny thing is he talks about it as if it's a creature, and there's been a lot of discussion on whether or not the Wendigo is a physical creature or if it's more of the spirit of something, or just in general like psychosis. Like, is it just people going crazy? And I think that there's probably some pretty darn good proofs for all of the above, you know. Especially, I will say, being somewhat skeptical in some things, the Wendigo, what do they call it? The Wendigo
Psychosis.
psychosis, is that what it is?
Yeah.
Yeah, the Wendigo psychosis of you just develop cannibalism, this insatiable, horrible hunger. It's crazy.
I have yet to look at someone and do you know what looks good?
Their thigh.
Their thigh. Their foot.
Yeah,
Well,
I
it's-
just
except for my wife, but it's not for eating purposes.
Oh, gross.
that's another episode. No, just kidding.
PG-13.
Yeah, I will say this. Up in Canada, I don't know if you guys have ever been in the bitter cold. When I was up there, it got to negative 47 degrees centigrade, which is the same, or negative 40 degrees Fahrenheit, it's negative 40 degrees Celsius. That's when they meet together. And it is bitterly cold. I had 2 coats on, 2 blankets, a mask. I had a scarf that was covering my face. I had hood. We were bundled up, and I still started to get the frostbite on my cheeks. It was that cold. And so I could only imagine, if you get lost in the woods, it's only a matter of time before you resort to drastic measures to try to survive. And I like you said, you might be skeptical. Whatever.
Skeptical.
Yeah, that word. But like, you look at examples, Donner Party, different things where people just got to the point that it was no longer a moral question, but a survival question.
Yeah. Well, it's really interesting because it goes back to what do they call them? Morality plays, where morality plays happen through all different cultures. It's the idea that you play out your worst fears, you play out the bad things, so that you teach a concept.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of people that think that the Wendigo specifically is kind of a morality play. It's a, hey, you are in a terrible cold place and you will at times maybe feel something bad. And that feeling that you're going to get is you want to eat someone. And you're going to think that that's the only way you can survive. Don't do it, And if you do, you are the Wendigo.
And like Jake said, if you're out at that point and you're starting to have those feelings, we live in the 21st freaking century. Like, go get a burger from McDonald's or something. Like,
Or just don't go out in the woods. I think that's a pretty simple
seriously. Oh my gosh.
Stay away.
Have
from
you
the
guys
woods.
ever been to a point where you feel like you've gone into survival mode?
No.
No, you don't think so?
No, I think that I've had moments in like Boy Scout camps where you're like, oh, this is hard, this is terrible. But I've never put myself in a position, to Jake's point, I've never put myself in a position where I'm like, oh, I need to survive.
Do you know I have?
Really?
Yep.
Tell me about it.
I'm going to tell you a story.
Did you forget to eat lunch one day, Josh?
Yes.
McDonald's was
No,
closed.
this is going to be a story, and you're going to totally be disappointed. I worked for a place called the South Salt Lake Mosquito Abatement, and both of you are laughing right now because you survive in that job. All of our friends can relate. But I was going in a place called a Chesterfield. You have to survive out there. It's creepy. There's homeless, removed people, and it's just drug. It's all crazy. But anyway, there was this place called We called it the island. I'm not going to tell you what the actual
I'm
name
familiar with the island. Go ahead.
but I was treating with a Mariama,
So a backpack sprayer.
a backpack sprayer,
Now,
and
mind you, it's a motorized backpack
Motorized
sprayer,
backpack
so
sprayer.
it was very loud. You know, you can't hear anything while you're doing that. And I was walking on top of the vegetation to get to this island. There's a lot of phragmites, trees. You know, well, I fell in, and a tree got stuck in between me and the Mariama. I was there for 3 hours.
3 hours?
3 hours. I was trying to yell to my person, but I couldn't turn off the bag, so it was loud. It just seemed like I was treating. And I was stuck in this tree, and I had to just kind of wiggle myself out. And so finally I went and sat on a log on the island just to get my ground again. But at that point,
my
I thought
gosh.
I was surviving.
where the freaking heck was your phone?
Well, I couldn't reach my phone. The tree had pinned me in a weird position that I couldn't get my hands
you were-
down.
He's dangling his arms out to the side.
Oh yeah,
So-
sorry. No one could see me. Just I looked like
I was like this the whole time.
Flapping his wings over here.
yeah, but yeah, there's my story. That's my survival, and people are gonna be like, "Are you serious?"
So and that's an interesting thing. So I've been in moments where you have like really, really high fight or flight. Mm-hmm. You know, where you are like, I need to do something drastic to get myself out of these situations. You know, being mugged or being, you know, put in those kind of situations. Do you think it's the same with what these people are saying? Because like when I read about the Wendigo, it kind of more seems like isolation and cold mixed with whatever cultural background that kind of produces this. It's not like a irrational decision. It's not like, you've gone crazy and you want to eat. It almost seems almost coldly rational. Like,
Yeah,
I am going to eat this person, and then I'm going to keep eating people.
yeah. I get the taste for human flesh.
Yeah. Of long pig. There's some cultures that consider human long pig. Have you ever heard of that? We'll
No.
get into cannibalism
I mean,
someday because it's really interesting.
I may look like a pig,
or
but
we couldn't, you know.
That's true.
This could be the only discussion on the subject.
No way. So, moving past the, let's say, the diagnosis of Wendigo, what about like the folklore of this actual being? Have you guys read anything about it?
I read a little bit in preparation for this. It is terrifying.
It is.
Like I grew up with like Slenderman, you know,
That's true.
and it kind of reminds me of Slenderman, but like the scarier version of Slenderman. I just recently, this will date the video, but the movie Alien Romulus or whatever just came out. The offspring between aliens and humans is exactly what I picture. If you guys look that up, it's exactly what I picture the Wendigo look like. It's disgusting, and I know that it's just that it could be just a folklore, but it's terrifying. I wouldn't want to run across it.
I wouldn't either. What about you, Jake? Have you? I know that you were watching some videos about the Wendigo before we started this whole shindig.
I did. I watched quite a few videos, and then those videos turned into me watching other videos about other things. And then eventually I was just listening to people in the woods hear screams and going, oh, that's the Wendigo. when it could have just honestly been Josh screaming that he couldn't get out of the situation.
It's true.
Me, help me.
It is true.
No, it's just really, what was really fascinating is reading about it and being like, okay, this was for Native Americans what werewolves were for the Europeans.
Oh yeah, yeah.
When you look at the stories and everything, it's a force of evil taking over someone and that person going crazy and either eating other people or doing other things. It's just the similarities are kind of there. Now the appearance is different, where you have a pale, gaunt, scary-looking 12-foot thing that is running through the forest at you. Where werewolves, I mean, it's a furry thing coming after you.
I don't know if I thought about it. We talked a little bit about it when we were doing the Filipino folklore, but we were talking about how there seems to be a lot of connection with other cultures. And I would say if we were talking European, I wouldn't go so much for werewolf. I would say vampire.
Yeah.
Pale-skinned, cannibalistic, gaunt. I mean, you're talking about kind of a Dracula-esque character right off the bat. And we know that vampires, they are found literally worldwide, at least in like folklore. We talked about the vampires in the Filipino, the
Aswang.
the aswang. This kind of creature that craves human flesh. What is it that is causing that to be a worldwide belief?
There's I'm going to kind of go off on a tangent here, but then reroute.
No.
It's just how I work. There's the child eater, the boogeyman in Swiss and Austrian and Germany, and they have statues of this weird looking old man that eats children. If you don't do this, you're going to get eaten. You don't do this. I wonder if there was a religious or spiritual thing where, eating human flesh is bad. And that's become morphed into, if you do this, this will happen to you. Just like with the children, if you don't do this, you're going to get eaten. Well, if you do eat, you're going to turn into this beast.
You got to hand it to the Germans, though. Like, some of their stories were like, if you don't clip your fingernails, the old lady will come and cut off your thumbs. Like, some of their stuff was just like downright.
You either get Santa or Krampus.
Yeah, I mean, like
That's true.
They were all about the way they taught their children was, if you don't do something, something's going to kill you.
Yeah, and it probably didn't start off that way.
Probably not.
It's just expanded into this, a lot bigger than what it actually is. Where I think it's the same with the Wendigo of, it probably started out as someone who got lost, who then lost his mind, ate somebody, but now it's become this thing of like, he's gaunt, he's, his bones are pressing up against his skin, where there's that hint of truth. I keep doing this as a historian. There's always a hint of truth, but there's that hint of truth of like, okay, where did it begin? Where did this story begin? It had to be a true story somewhere of something, and it's turned into this.
Okay, so I'm gonna throw a bit of a wrench because I'm curious what your guys' thoughts are.
No, not a wrench.
What about the stories from nowadays? What about the people that like this Ben fella who's wandering out into the woods in Minnesota, who's seeing something and is not able to explain it? Well, how do we explain that? Is it just, paranoid schizophrenia affecting people? Is it, or is there something out there that people are seeing?
I have a very overactive imagination. So, if you put me in an environment where it's really quiet and I have time to just talk to my brain is going to come up with some weird stuff. I worked as a janitor for a clubhouse that was out in the middle of a field because they were going to be doing development. And I remember on the east side, there's houses, there's the skeletons of what's going to be homes. So it's just their
framework and stuff.
Yeah, all that stuff. And they have a lot of tarps. It's the middle of winter. On the other side, nothing. So, I mean, it's just out in the middle of nowhere. And here I am 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning going out by myself. And there's no one out there because no one needs to be. And I remember always you'd get out and you'd start. And back then, to get here, I would have to walk around the building. And then I'd have to get to a gate in the back that had a letter combination lock, which was horrible. I could never get it right. And then you get in. Well, here I am. I walk out, and you start walking, and then you hear flap, 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 flap. and all of a sudden the walk turns into a little bit of a faster pace, and then eventually you start, and then all of a sudden Jake is sprinting from here to there, and it doesn't seem far, but by the time I get to the gate, I am just trying to get the lock open, and it's not working. Everything's around me. Something is right behind me. You turn around, there's nothing there. And then you get inside, and once you're in a safe place, you turn around and go, well, what the heck was I doing? It's fine. I sometimes wonder, now that I know there's people out there that are like, I've seen stuff. And I mean, I would agree. But I sometimes wonder if when you're put in that environment, you see things. And when you look at, cannibalism, that, for me, like, that's like a human fear of, like, you don't want to get eaten.
And you don't want to eat someone.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's a really big fear. So why does our brain do it? See, this is something that's always tripped me up. Whenever I get into discussions with people where we begin talking about this, or talking about like folklore, talking about paranormal, I always come back with, well, but why is your brain allowing this to happen? Why is it that your imagination is causing these things to give you anxieties to a point where they're actually, in some ways, manifesting, at least to yourself?
As I am diagnosed with anxiety and depression and all that, I look at it in the way of you're trying to explain what you're going through. Because, you can have scientists, psychologists, psychiatrists tell you, oh, it's a misfire of a brain, chemical imbalance. For me, that's very hard to visualize, and I'm a very visual learner. But when, the darkness, a fear of darkness, is a shadow instead of just a lack of light, then it makes sense to me. Mm-hmm. So I wonder if the mind is trying to come up with something to explain the fear that you're having at that point in time. Mm-hmm. And that's what goes on. That's what's happening, is just an explanation to try to understand something. Because I feel as the human race, human beings in general, we're always trying to understand what's going on around us. Visually, by ear, five senses, whatever, six senses. I can't remember. Six sense? No. Five senses.
Josh, she's dead people.
Red rum.
But I think we're trying to understand, and we fill in the blanks sometimes.
Ooh, that's interesting.
And that's where, the
why
gray
can't
area.
I see Elmo?
See, that's why.
Or why can't I see a cartoon character?
But that's what I'm talking about. Like, there's shared paranoia. Mm-hmm. Like, the story of the Wendigo is a very terrifying tale, but it's not a unique terrifying tale. I mean, you can find things like the Aswang, like skinwalkers, like vampires, all throughout the entire world. And I have to think to myself, I have to think like an anthropologist, which is, what in our evolutionary history affected us so that this is the thing that we fear. Mm-hmm. Now, I think you could probably make the argument like, well, the fear or the disgust of cannibalism is something that protected our health in the long term. But like, why the personification? Why this pale, gaunt, flesh-eating monster? Why is that the thing that we're scared of? It's the same. I mean, it's the same thing that we talk about when we talk about like Bigfoot. This idea that this creature is a giant ape person and it's spread throughout the world. From an anthropological standpoint, why do we have that shared fear? Why is that there? Is there something? Was there something in our past where maybe there was a disease that was causing some Wendigo-like, experiences, this thoughtless cannibalism, this insatiable hunger? Or was there a creature? I don't know.
I don't know, but someone shot it dead and now it doesn't exist. Well, I mean, it could exist. Iowa.
Problem is there is a lot of people that claim to see these. And like I said, or like Jake said, a lot of them are people making YouTube videos, hearing screams at night and saying it's the Wendigo. And it could be a number of things. It could be cougars.
You mean us? No, just kidding.
I mean, it could be
Josh.
It could be a number of different things, but like there's enough people that believe really strongly in this that I can't just discount it immediately, because I have to go, okay, well, belief is really, really strong. We're not talking about the Slender Man where most everybody realizes that's made up, minus those terrible murderous girls from, I think, in the early 2000s. Do you guys know that story?
Yeah.
Dude, I was like 4.
Oh. Two girls. Was it two
It
girls?
was like 2009, Josh. What are you talking
Oh,
about?
okay. I was 12.
Yeah, two girls believed supposedly, and I still have my doubts. They believed strong enough in Slender Man that they committed murder on his behalf. But like Slender Man is like it is a modern day
Representation.
of something that is that fear. This tall, slender, scary looking thing.
There's a common theme. Tall.
Scary.
Do you know what we should be scared of?
Tall people.
Tall people.
Basketball players.
Basketball
Shaquille
players
O'Neal.
especially. Yes.
Shaq, if you want to come on our podcast.
Shaquille O'Neal isn't pale, so
He's the friendliest guy ever.
he is a really friendly guy.
Yeah.
You know who we should be scared of? Larry Bird.
Larry.
I'm petrified of Larry Bird.
Oh my gosh, Larry Bird is Wendigo.
Larry Bird's a Wendigo.
You know, he did do a lot of trash talking on court.
He did.
So maybe that's the imitation, you know.
I'm gonna eat you. What the people don't realize is that it was like
It
serious.
was true. He was
It
doing
100 He's like, no, I am going to eat you alive.
Yeah.
Oh, you're so funny. No, I'm going to tear off your skin. Oh, you're
And
Larry
he
Bird.
was in pain. He had back pain. Maybe
Did he?
that's his. Yeah, he had severe back problems.
Well, I mean, when you're that tall, I mean, I would imagine your bones are like, no, why?
How tall was Larry? I don't think he was actually that tall.
I thought he was like 6'4" or something.
Oh no, I think he was taller than that. I thought it was like 6'7" or 6'8". Hold please. We got to check our.
Oh, he's 6'9". Dang.
Yeah, he's a pretty tall fella.
Larry Bird. Ooh, Larry Bird with a mullet. Yeah, we could skip those days.
Larry
Maybe the
Bird with a
mullet
mullet.
was hiding his.
Bony.
Gaunt face.
So let's talk about area specific folktale. Specifically, something like the Wendigo, which you can obviously tell it's pulling at least some things from the surrounding First Nations people. You know, the Ojibwe, the
Algonquin.
Cree, the Algonquin. Yeah, it's definitely like cold affected. You know, they specifically when they talk about this kind of creature, it is always under the guise that it is a cold demon kind of thing, some spiritual cold demon thing. And a lot of them, at least from my reading, I could be very well off. They don't actually believe it's a physical thing. They think it's more of like a manifestation of some spirit, right? Mm-hmm. Is that what kind of you guys read?
Yeah, and it's kind of funny because a lot of the symptoms that the Wendigo or the physical features that the Wendigo has is symptoms of hypothermia, being out
malnutrition,
hunger, that kind of thing. And it's like, oh, that makes sense. I mean, just recently in the news, they claimed to find one of the climbers of Mount Everest, one of the original two first climbers of Mount Everest. They found his foot recently. And they both died before they were able to come down.
Yeah.
But they found the first guy several years ago, and he was bleached because he had been out in the sun. His body had been out in the sun. And when you're out in situations like that, you think you can't really hide from the sun. Sun will burn you, but after you're burned, it will bleach your skin.
Yeah.
And it'll cause you to be white. So you look at that, and it's like, oh, yeah, there's the white, there's the gaunt, there's the, all these things are symptoms of a cold atmosphere.
Sure.
Aliens.
Or it's aliens.
Hey, like I said, look up The Offspring.
With the aliens tall and what's the one? Do.
Yes. Close Encounters of the Third Kind.
Yes, that one.
They are. They have the little children aliens that run out and they're like, oh,
Isn't that the one where it
Grandma.
doesn't actually show the aliens? It's just the platform comes down from the UFO and they start walking.
no, they show
from
the
way.
aliens.
They come out.
Yeah,
Oh.
they're kind of in shadow, but they show them, and they're super. Like Jake says, they're super tall, and then there's little ones that run up to Richard Dreyfuss and they're like, "Yeah, come with us." And Richard Dreyfuss is like, "Okay, I just left my entire family behind."
And that's where the Styx song "Come Sail Away" comes from. It was an alien spaceship.
Sail away, come sail. And it was an alien spaceship.
Yeah.
I think that's what the song implies.
Yeah.
It wasn't a gathering of angels at all. It was
Dennis D. Young, he knew something we didn't know.
Wendigo.
Wendigo. Yeah, it's a fascinating thing. I'm a sucker for paranormal stuff, but I love, like, I don't necessarily believe in it, but I love the story behind it. I'm kind of the the story to me is more important than the belief in the thing, because I love the imagination that people have.
Yep.
Because it really, this idea that we can conjure up this creature in our mind is super fascinating to me. And I don't know why.
You two like watching scary movies.
I do.
Tell me why you like being scared.
That's a good question.
But you know what it is? It is a safe place to have a emotional experience. I can watch a scary movie and I can have jump scares and I can go through the whole emotional spectrum, but I'm completely safe while I'm doing it. It's a thrill for me. It's without having to do anything thrilling.
See, and for me, Danny's, yours was really deep. Mine was, I just want to cuddle with my wife. And it's not her getting scared. I'm getting scared of jumping into her arms.
Josh weeping uncontrollably.
Exactly.
Kylie's trying to dab his eyes.
But in haunted houses, because I like going to haunted houses too, Kylie's the one that, or my wife is the one that doesn't like haunted houses, and we end up, that's the whole reason I watch them.
You like haunted houses?
I mean, not now, because it's just, no offense to haunted house workers, but it's a bunch of sweaty teenagers who
That's exactly my problem. I can't help but start laughing at them. My son Brogan wants to go to a haunted house.
I'll take him to the haunted corn maze.
Well, and I said that I would too, and we're probably going to end up going, but it's like, I know that it's staffed by 15-year-olds that are going to be like, what? Blah, blah. And it's like, oh my gosh, I don't know if I can deal with that kind of
But
stuff.
what happens if you meet someone who isn't part of the staff?
See, and that's my fear.
Well, I know the family that owns the field, so
okay.
That's true. They are really
It's going to be like, oh, I know you from church, which might be the most scary thing of all.
Yeah, it might be.
Now, here's my question. Let's say we're out in the woods together. I know Jake would never be out in the woods with us, Danny, but imagine we're out in the
We've
woods.
drugged Jake.
Yep, we've drugged Jake, brought him out for a boys' trip without our wives, without our children, without anybody, and we're just going to survive. This is
Questioning life's decisions.
this is my prime thing. I want to go on like a survival show. I think that would be fun. But we're out there.
Like Alone? You want to do like an Alone?
Oh, I think it would be fantastic.
5 minutes into it, I would be ringing that bell. I'd be like, man, I don't want it anymore.
No, I would probably be the one where they'd have to like blur everything out because I'd be like drinking my
naked all the time?
Yes, be like I'm drinking my own urine or something.
would-
5 minutes in,
He has perfectly fine clothes, and yet he's naked already.
I'd be holding the host hostage within the first minute. If you don't let me out, he gets it.
but anyway, so we're all out in this forest, imaginary forest, and we run into the Wendigo. What would you guys do?
Run.
Kick Danny over and run.
Oh,
Poor Danny.
Hey, he's had a good life.
I have. I am the oldest. I understand.
You
I would
lived.
accept
You've
it.
lived the most.
But then I would trip Josh. So,
I would trip myself. That you wouldn't need to trip me. It
so the
would-
good news is I would get out. But then again, I probably wouldn't be there to begin with. I'd be questioning the decision from a condo nearby.
yeah.
with a telescope. Oh my gosh!
I
a
told
Wendigo.
you.
Oh my gosh, they're eating each other. What am I supposed to do?
21st century.
Oh my gosh, the heater.
That is a question, though, Josh, that I have asked myself many times, and not just about the Wendigo, but like if I am alone and I see something, or if I'm with people and I see something, what am I going to act like? The one or two experiences that I've had that would be considered kind of the spooky paranormal, I just giggled and ran. and I'm not even kidding. And it was like, did you guys see that? We need to leave right now. And that's what I did. So I'm sure that's probably what I would do. Is you guys would think that I'd gone crazy because I'd be like, hee, hee.
Laughing hysterically.
Yeah,
Instead of crying.
instead of crying.
Now, in the Philippines, I often found myself walking through sugar cane fields in the middle of the night and stuff to get to places. And I mean, when you think of the cornfields and some of this creepy stuff that happens in cornfields, sugar cane fields are pretty similar. And I had multiple times where there was just weird things. But one of the times is I was walking and my companion made it very clear that I should just not speak English. I should not act English. I should hunch down a little bit, make sure I don't look tall. And we were walking, and as we were walking through this by ourselves, and it's 8 o'clock at night, but 8 o'clock at night over there, pitch black, no moon. And I had a flashlight, and as we were walking, all of a sudden I saw a leg hanging outside the
like signs?
kind of, yeah. That's exactly kind of what went through my mind. I was like, thankfully, I mean, it was a Filipino leg, but I was still like, oh my gosh, what's going to happen?
It's fine.
So and it was one of the moments where I stopped, and what went through my head is, okay, how am I going to kill this thing? And then I had to stop myself because I'm like, oh wait, no, I'm not in a position I should do that. So, but my companion was like, well, what do we do? And I said, well,
Go tickle his foot.
I said, let's talk to it. And I did. Turned out it was a guy that was just as scared as we were. And what was funny,
Because you were large and pale.
I was. See,
You were the Wendigo.
You were the Wendigo.
So, and I mean, we got him up, and he came with us. And then what was funny is we started gathering because we like kept walking, and then more people would see us, and then they would come to our group. And it was just one of those things where it's like all these people are here, lost in this sugarcane field, scared spitless. And then by the time I leave, I had
Circling
like
around.
a group of like 10 to 15 Filipinos around me. Here's this tall white American walking with a group of Filipinos outside the sugarcane field. I'm sure everyone's like, what the heck happened there?
He's a cult leader.
Yes.
So,
So far we've got, I'm going to have a high-pitched giggle and run away. Jake's going to attack the thing or gather a bunch of Filipinos around him. Josh, what about you?
So I've had it once where I've seen something, and it was a legitimate thing. It was a bear when I was up in Canada. I froze. I was one of the, I make fun of people like when something's blowing up and they just stare at it, and it's like, well, you just need to move over 3 inches. You're fine, whatever. I'm one of those people. Or I'm one of those people that takes out their phone and starts videoing.
Oh my gosh.
so what you're saying is if I did have to push you over, it would be pretty easy because you
yeah.
wouldn't be moving at all.
Yeah, I would play dead for some odd reason. I'd be like, it's a grizzly bear, and then like fold up, and then it would be like just runner in the woods or something, and he'd be like, is he dead?
It's like grizzly bear comes over, smells you, and goes, oh yeah, that's dead. Oh.
That's so crazy.
Yeah, but it depends. I would probably do something similar to you, Danny, where I would get that creepy, like on the verge of crying laugh.
Yeah, in real situations, I have more of the violence. Like my adrenaline in like real situations, it's like, okay, I'm gonna kill someone. But like in situations where I don't have that, yeah, I get silly. And I think it's probably because in the back of my mind, I'm like, okay, this can't actually be happening.
Mm-hmm.
Like this is not a real thing, which is why I probably giggle to myself.
Well, I think that's our defense mechanism in general, is when we're in situations where we have either that fear or you have that uncomfortability with other people, whether people are just being grumpy with each other, contentious. It seems like we always get silly.
We do.
We tend to be over dramatic. Which
So here's
I'm
my
sure
question.
No one knows from this.
Are we scared of this podcast?
Are we scared as well?
This is just our fear response.
Yeah.
This whole
This whole
podcast
thing
is nothing
is
but
just
us
us.
working through our fear.
Yeah.
Probably.
Because we're giggling.
Think about that in your comments, people.
Yeah. We could be suffering.
We could need help.
This may be an assignment from our psychiatrist.
Probably. All right. So we've reached the end of the Wendigo. So we're going to do some final thoughts. Starting with the youngest, Joshua.
I've been there. I've been where the Wendigo is. And I will be honest, it's real. I know it.
Well, that's pleasant.
No, Josh just saw Larry Bird up there.
Larry Bird.
No, I saw...
He was throwing basketballs at Josh.
what was his name? Oh my gosh. I almost said Gronkowski. That's wrong sport.
That would be
That's football. Wayne Gretzky.
You got the great Wayne Gretzky of NHL confused with Gronkowski.
I know. Isn't that embarrassing? All my
We
Canadian...
just lost every sports fan and Canadian ever.
No, but like
Plus most, if not all, of New England.
all of Wayne Gretzky, since he's retired, now just pulls pranks
He's
on
just a
young
Wendigo.
people, and he's out in the woods as a Wendigo.
Hey, I'm a Wendigo, eh?
Hey there. Hey there. Come over here, I got a stick to beat you with.
I'm going to eat your skin, eh?
I know you said, Ben, I found it would be, Ben, I found it, E. Hey, come
That's
over
actually-
here,
so
Ben.
It's funny that you say that because I was like, do I play this off like they're actually from
Canada.
Well, they're from Minnesota, but not that far.
Oh, they're Minnesota.
Yeah.
You had some southern hit at you, Danny. There were some
did.
points where you were.
It was the that bartender lady. I couldn't help it for some odd reason. She was like, "Hello, darling. How you doing today?"
Sweetie, come have a pie.
And it's like that. She'd be.
What the heck is she doing up in the north?
She would actually. She should actually sound like Bobby's mom from what was it? The Bobby cartoon. Do you remember that?
Bobby.
Yeah.
I only know Bobby from King of the Hill.
No. Well,
Peking Hill.
no. Oh my goodness! What is that comedian's name?
Oh, the guy that had the gap in his teeth.
Yeah. Who's also he's now on The Voice.
He always do. Oh, I can't remember his name.
It's Bobby's World.
He
though.
just passed away like a year ago.
No. You're thinking Louis Anderson.
Oh, nope, I was confused. Sorry.
Yeah, no. Bobby's World is from. Hold, please.
While they're listening to that, I'll give some more comments on the Wendigo. I think it is both a manifestation, but also a legitimate thing because people can go crazy. There are many instances where people do go wild, and it explains those wild people who may have somehow survived, but in reality has just lost their minds completely.
Well, I mean, lack of sun.
Yeah.
You legitimately do go crazy. I mean, that is a very real thing. Bobby's World, by the way, Howie Mandel.
Oh,
Howie
yeah,
Mandel's
that was
a
a while ago.
He's not a comedian. He's
a comedian.
Howie Mandel is absolutely a comedian.
He just hosts Deal or No Deal, bro.
now, but
Josh,
back in the old day, he
you
was a
are-
big comedian.
You are young.
He's just
You
a
missed out when he had
germaphobe.
hair and everything.
He had hair?
Yes.
Dude, he's just like the king of bald men.
All right. Well.
We
Anyway.
really are losing a lot of celebrity deals if anything happens.
And with
This goes
that,
forward.
Jake, your final thoughts.
Ooh, my final thoughts are simply this: A, don't go to the forest. B, remember, we live in the 21st century. We have technology.
Bring that Winnebago. Wait, what is it?
Winnebago.
Bring the Winnebago. 4, if you absolutely have to go to the forest, bring the following items: 1, torch. 3, flamethrower.
You skipped 2, 3, all of your lists. 1, bring a gun. 7, bring a map.
I'm not done yet.
Sorry, I apologize.
Number 10.
If you want the extra content, if you want 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9, Patreon,
You have
everyone.
to subscribe to our Patreon. Number 10. A bug spray and a little tiny torch. Not a torch, sorry.
That's
A
twice.
lighter. A lighter.
So we have a torch, lighter, and flamethrower. So really, fire.
Fire is what you do.
If you pay $5 to the following website, we'll be able to get number 12. So, again, just to recap.
Please go ahead and recap. Because I don't even know where we're at. So far, it's
Number 1,
stay in a condo, light bug spray on fire.
A, B. The letter W,
Oh my gosh.
and then the character alpha.
You forgot about
Oh boy. And with that, we come to the end of our Winnebago discussion. Join us next week as we talk about the human condition. It will be Jake who will, I think, actually present a list. And after the list he just gave, I'm a little concerned.
We have at least 15 to 75 different fears we're going to go over. If you have a fear of numbers do not show up, or bad math.
Do people actually have a fear of numbers? Stay tuned for next week's podcast.
tuned.
Oh no, you guys are giving wrong things. I'm not going to talk about that next week. Now I'm going to find it.
Oh, well. Regardless, join us next week. Thanks all.
See you later. Enjoy the music. Or my wheezy.
Arithmophobia is a fear of numbers.
Arithmetic. Wait, what's arithmetic?